Hi, in my sixth video, I'm going to talk about late filing penalties on the tax returns. This means if a person has failed to submit the returns on time, HMRC will impose fixed penalties. This means penalties do not depend upon the tax liability. Even if a person have a nil tax liability but he failed to submit the returns on time, there are fixed penalties. How does the penalties work? There is initial penalty of £100 for 1 day late of tax return. The penalties will increase to £10 per day if the return is late for 3 months up to 90 days, which means the penalty will increase to £900. There are further penalties if the return is late more than 6 months. The penalties can be £300 or 5% of the tax liability, whichever is higher. If the return is still late for more than 12 months, the additional penalty will be imposed, which is again either £300 or 5% of the tax liability, whichever is higher. So therefore, I always advise my client to submit the returns on time. I have seen various cases of the individuals. They just failed to submit the returns, but they have paid thousands of pounds in penalties. And HMRC are very reluctant in reducing the tax liabilities or the penalties. The only way you can reduce your penalties are if you have a reasonable excuse. Reasonable excuse does not mean that you were relying upon an accountant and he failed to submit the returns, or they you didn't have sources to pay income tax on the date of on the due date of tax payment date. So these are not the reasonable excuse. Reasonable excuse means that you were in the circumstances which were beyond your control. So if you do not have reasonable excuse, HMRC will impose late filing penalties. I hope this video will help you in understanding why the HMRC imposes penalties. And the purpose of HMRC is not to raise revenue by imposing the penalties, but in order to make sure that the taxpayers are actually submitting returns on time. Thank you for listening.